from the Ministry for English Literacy on Facebook. I am the minister of that ministry in the Insan Party that Rayhan has created, and also from me, Carla, who you know me as Carla for the most part. I am here today to speak to Anesh Daya, who has a wonderful smile, and I don't need to remind him to smile, which I really like. And we are going to talk about his life, his work, and his passions for teaching English and education. And believe it or not, he has an Indian name, but he was born in South Africa, lives in Canada. No, he was born in Canada. His parents were in South Africa, and his grandparents are from India. Don't tell us about it. I'm getting it all confused. In any case, I want to remind you that this show, like all of my shows, is sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization promoting peace, one conversation at a time. Anesh, could you please introduce yourself?
Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm filled with an abundance of love and gratitude to yourself, Rayhan, the Institute, Insan, and I've never had an opportunity to speak to a minister before. So this is a great honor. So thank you, Carla. This is fantastic. So my name is Anesh Daya. I'm a passionate father, partner, but most importantly, I'm a human connector and human being on this earth. And for the past 20 years, I've been an adult English educator. And 12 years ago, I became an edupreneur, where I started my own business called On the Spot Language, where we make the city our classroom, where we go out and talk to strangers every day, and we empower students to really speak English with confidence in real life situations so that they can become global autonomous learners. And when Carla was asking and introducing me a little bit about me, so yes, I was born here in Canada. My parents were born in South Africa, and my grandparents are from a province in India called Gujarat. So I am Gujarati, I am South African, and I am Canadian. But moreover than anything, I'm a global citizen.
And I love that. And what is it that, can you explain what you mean when you talk when you're talking about your English? Have you been teaching English all this time, or what have you been doing for the past 20 years?
Yeah, so I initially, prior to 20 years ago, I was actually a tennis coach, a tennis professional for 2 years. So I love being outside. I love the idea of, being out and working hands-on with students to, the forehand, backhand, serve. But then I also graduated in multimedia. So I do have a background in graphic design, audio, video production, 3D animation. But it was the precipice for all this came when I decided to get on a plane and go to Taiwan, because I was burnt out working in multimedia. And on the plane, Carla, going to a new culture, I learned my numbers 1 to 10 on the airplane, learning Mandarin. So I turned to someone and said, excuse me, can you help me learn my numbers 1 to 10? And he's like, sure. It's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here I am on the airplane going to Taiwan, very nervous what to expect for a year to teach English. And I land in the airport and I'm confident because I know my numbers 1 to 10. And somebody turns to me, Carla, and they say, 你是哪里来的? 你是哪一国人? I go, huh? Uh, what? And I go, I just said the number 2 because that's all I knew. And it was at that moment, Carla, that I realized simply learning grammar or numbers wasn't going to help me survive, let alone thrive in this new culture and language. So what I did is I learned 2 sentences that were functional and useful for me every day while I was in Taiwan, to the point, Carla, after a year, they had a top 10 countdown of most interesting things that happened in Taiwan. My life was featured as number 7. They actually called me Tai Ke, the foreigner who became Taiwanese. So I went from learning my numbers 1 to 10 to becoming in the top 10. And then realizing that coming back to Canada after a year and working in a traditional classroom-based setting, students would go from a classroom in their country and they would come to a classroom in Toronto. But then they couldn't functionally use any of the language outside of the comforts of a classroom. And I thought, wait a minute, something's wrong here. They're coming here learning reading, listening, grammar, but they can't functionally get outside of the comforts of a classroom and talk to Canadians or start a conversation. And then it got me thinking, you know what? What if they could learn how I learned? Because I also do speak French and Spanish and Mandarin. And so I've been immersed in culture and language. And so 12 years ago, I started On the Spot Language, where we make the city our classroom. And that's kind of the mini story there of how I got to do what I'm doing today. And since in the last 12 years, Carla, we've had hundreds of thousands of conversations with strangers, one conversation at a time, as you say, and helping students build confidence and getting used to speaking to every Tom, Dick, and Harry outside. And here I am today.
So you're not teaching in a classroom. You have created your own classroom outside.
Absolutely, Carla. And so every single day in our program, with the guidance and support of a language coach, in one class, we have one language coach and 3 students. That's it. And every day we meet at a different location throughout the city, because language is connected to history. And we remember visually when we're at a physical location. And we learn when we're in motion. So we get oxygen to the brain, right? If we're sitting down, we're kind of falling asleep. But when we learn in motion, oxygen is flowing and it's going to the brain. And so students make that connectivity. And so every day is like a little amazing race, if you know the show. It's all activity based, and they have tasks that they have to do throughout the city. And they learn how to make every stranger their new teacher.
Wow. Now, how long are your classes?
Yeah, so and as you know, routine is so important, building a good routine. If you want a predictor of your future, just look at your routines, right? And so what we do is we actually run an 8-week program that Monday to Friday, 2 hours a day, we take our students outside and we build good English routines into their lifestyle. So for example, and you'll love this, our students learn jokes on the streets of Toronto, but they don't learn it from me. They'll learn it from strangers outside. Excuse me, would you be able to help me? I'm an international student studying English in Toronto, and part of my homework is to learn one simple joke in English. would you be able to help me? They go, oh, I'm terrible with jokes. I don't know any jokes. I go, well, would you be able to look one up for me? Oh, yeah, sure. Okay, let's say, why did the chicken cross the road? I don't know. To get to the other side. Instead of, why is that funny? They can't even comprehend. It's a simple, stupid kind of joke. It's a silly joke, but but students can't comprehend. And that's culture learning, right? That's learning about
Yeah.
culture, because each culture and language has different kinds of sense of humor, right? But by the end of that task, they would have learned maybe 20 jokes from strangers. And then at the end of the day, they choose, you know what? I like that joke. I like that joke. I'm going to put that in my back pocket. So when they're at the bar or at the homestay or at a dinner table with people, they can bust out a joke. And how powerful is that?
That's amazing. And you're using the technology of the smartphone to help create a joke.
There you go.
Do you
Absolutely.
also do, like, if you go to a restaurant, hey,
We
I want to order pizza. How do I do it?
it's actually built every imaginable real life situation, whether it be the supermarket, the shopping mall, restaurants, cafes. We take students to the bank. We take them to every real life situation, and everything is learned in context, right? Because you can learn all you want at home, but it's only going to become real once you do it and you can apply it in real life situations, but not just once, but many times. So we do go to, for example, Starbucks or Tim Hortons, as we have in Canada, and we say, could I get a medium double double? Or could I get a toasted sesame seed bagel with light cream cheese? But we teach them these sentences and we repeat them. But then when they go to the cafe and we order with them, and it's okay if they make a mistake, but the point is they're in the real life context situation. But then the next day we're going to go to another cafe anyway at the beginning of class. But imagine doing this for 8 weeks every day. You're going to become a pretty good expert of how to order a coffee or how to order a toasted sesame seed bagel with light cream cheese, or asking in a supermarket, what aisle would I find blank, right? So it's all about developing a daily routine, and nothing about achieving a level score or anything. It's about developing skills. It's a skills-based assessment. You couldn't do this before, now you can.
Wow. How did you come up with this? Absolutely love it.
I
Do you
appreciate you
need
saying that.
anyone else to work with you?
And that means a lot coming from you, Miss Minister. And and just coming from such an amazing educator like yourself, it means a lot. Thank you. But for me, this is how I've come to learn languages as an adult, which is very different than when you're a child and you're surrounded by it. As adults, we tend to lose that curiosity of, is this building named after anyone or anything? And we have all these norms and stereotypes built into our, whereas kids don't have a lot of that. And so part of my job is actually unlearning, teaching people how to unlearn the traditional ways they've been taught how to learn, right? And so this entire journey has been, well, this is how I've learned languages. But because we have a customized learning plan for each student, everyone's interests and hobbies and passions are different, which is why you understand, as a coach, we customize and tailor the learning to you, the learner. Right? Whereas in a traditional classroom, a teacher makes a photocopy and gives everybody the same work. Well, why is that when each learner is so unique and different? So in our program, it's a customized language learning approach where we take your interests, your hobbies, and your goals, and work with you as a coach, and we're seen as equals, but we're here just to guide you through the process of language acquisition.
Now, I was a special ed teacher, and I agree, you cannot teach any two people exactly alike. You can
Absolutely.
come close to it, but you can't do that.
Correct.
Knowing that, how did you come to this point? Because this is perfect. And how old are most of your students?
Yeah, no, and I appreciate you sharing your special ed background. And it really is that kind of hands-on, tailored approach that we take, because we're dealing with humans who are all unique, just like our fingerprints and our DNA. And so, our lived experiences are different as well. So when we think about multiple intelligences, people learn differently, and so working with those individuals, we really tailor the learning to them, but their intelligences, their backgrounds, their cultural awareness, and how they've been brought up. What was the question again? I was just rambling on a little bit. I apologize.
It's perfectly fine. I was talking about the multiple, not only the multiple intelligences, but every student learns a little differently. And you were talking about, oh, giving a list of words doesn't really teach a child anything, a child or an adult. And first, I wanted to ask, how old are
Oh,
your
old, right. So they're all
students?
adult ESL learners, sorry, at the moment. We have actually brought over high school students from Japan to take our program, which has been really, really amazing. But most of our students have been in university students, and then all the way up to, we've had students who've been 60, 65 years old, all with different, goals and what they want to achieve in life. And, you know, for me, language is simply a tool to achieve your respective goals in life. And our program is about really making, like, a stranger is just a friend you haven't met yet. Right?
I use those words on my English show every day.
And it's so true. All right. And that's the power of our program. Our students would talk to roughly 1,000 strangers in 8 weeks. Now, people go an entire year and don't even talk to strangers. But imagine, as a language learner, the exposure, the learning, the different perspectives you're getting by talking and meeting so many people. I don't want students to be comfortable with me, Carla. It's easy to understand us because we speak in a way that's easy to understand, with no idioms and with intonation, pronunciation. We enunciate all of our words. I don't want them to get comfortable with me. I want them to get comfortable with everybody outside in the real world, because that's what you're going to be in.
And I say that every day. So I teach my students, speak slowly. Forget about accent, just
Absolutely.
speak the words out.
Yeah.
So, we are so aligned. It's amazing. I want you at my English show if you would have time to come. So
Yeah.
when we're talking about this and you're talking to your students, how do you get them to, first of all, how old are they? Do they
So
start at
they could
college
range
or do they
between,
start younger?
so we don't educate kids at the moment. We have had some high school students, like 14, 15, 16, but most of our students are over 20.
They would be great for my show.
Yeah. And yeah, they come here, short term for 8 weeks to 6 months. And then they go back to their country. So it's all international students.
And how many students do you have in a class for?
Yeah, so we have a 1 language coach to 3 student ratio in every one of our classes. But at any given time, we could have 3 to 4 language coaches out on the streets of Toronto with their groups of 3 students. But it's always a 1 to 3 ratio, because as a student, I wouldn't want that more students than that in a class. I want that individual attention. As a language coach, I can manage 3 students effectively and give them each the attention they need and deserve. And as a business owner, I don't want to fill a class with 15, 20 students. I want to deliver the highest quality program I can, because results speak for themselves. We have 100% money back guarantee in our program. And in 12 years, not one student has asked for their money back, because they've all improved. Because we can guarantee that.
Do they come knowing English, or do they come?
Some of them come with very little English. Some of them come with a lot of English. Some of them have attended the best universities in their country. Regardless of their level, this concept of experiential language immersion is so foreign and new to them that it challenges them. And as a language coach, you can understand this.
Yeah.
We challenge each student accordingly, because they're all different and they have different weaknesses and strengths. Right? So for example, one student, maybe one of his challenges would be, like complimenting people is built into our program.
Oh, wonderful.
And so they have to compliment 3 to 10 strangers a day in our program. In some cultures, that's almost considered faux pas. Why? You shouldn't do that. Why would you do that? For me, I'm like, if I can make someone smile and change their day with a compliment, my job is done for the day. But so being able to individually challenge students on their weaknesses or what's uncomfortable for them, like complimenting, like, I really like your jacket. You mind if I ask where you got it? I've been looking for one like that. Was it pricey? Was it on sale? I really like the color. You mind if I take a picture of it? Or you mind if I take a picture with you? And through that, they go, oh, so yeah, sure. Where are you visiting from? Oh, I just got in from, India and everything. Oh, you're from India. That's great. How long have you been here? And, the conversation starts like that, right? And then we teach students not just how to start the conversation, but how do you continue one? How do you dive a little deeper, right? And so it's developing what I call a conversation mind map. And as you know, from mind mapping, it's just reaching in to different drawers or rooms. But in this case, it's different conversations that students can have, and they can control and direct the conversation, because we've taught them how to do that and build and scaffold it out.
Wow. I love this so very much.
Appreciate that. And, it's for me, I'm a little bit frustrated sometimes, Carla, because the world of teaching English is such a business in many cases.
Yeah.
And it's all about this run of the mill. Students come, they sit down in a boring classroom, and every school is almost the same. They're teaching the same things in the same way, in the same method. And I go, come on, something has to change here. And this is why I have in the background, I just finished co-authoring a book called A New Paradigm of Education, which is a series of 7 other authors who are talking about what is this new paradigm of education? What are we doing to change the systematic way of education? And how can we do this as a community together to make change? Because ESL schools, language schools, have been doing the same thing for so many years, and it's frustrating. It's a lot of the same thing, just wrapped in different wrapping paper. That's all it is.
And many times when you're talking to people who are teaching English in a different country, I mean, I found it very frustrating. They don't understand what they're saying either. I once had a gentleman who was introduced to me and owns a company, English Inn. I don't want to get too close to it. I hope I didn't say the name actually. And when I introduce myself, I say where I'm from. The first thing he said, "Where are you from?" And I went back and I said to him, "Did you read my introduction?" And he said, "No." And I said, "Why do you think I put in an introduction?" And it's very scary that people do not they don't understand that listening is extremely important. Have you found that to be an issue too? Teaching people to listen and really hear what's being asked of them.
Yeah, and this is why I think having a good foundation of language learning is so important. Even if, so for example, when I went to Taiwan, I literally only knew, Carla, my numbers 1 to 10. Literally. And so what conversations do I need to know? For example, even just learning how to ask for clarification as a base level. You know, oh, how do you spell that? Could you please say that again? What do you mean by Or could you give me another example? Or could you please type? If you don't know, that's okay. But if you know how to ask for clarification, and if you can empower a learner to teach them how to learn, isn't that the best skill you can teach them?
Yeah.
And so what we do, so even asking for basic directions, as I mentioned, our students are at different locations every day. They have to meet their language coach at a set given location. So I'll say, meet me in front of Robarts Library tomorrow. Bye. You go, huh? What? Huh? But we've taught them the language to ask somebody, excuse me, where would I find Robarts Library? Is it around here? And guess what? Somebody will say, oh, head straight and hang a left. Eh? Anesh, what does head mean? Oh, head means go. But what does hang a right mean? Oh, hang means turn. And they go, oh, okay. Then they ask someone else, where would I find Robarts Library? Is it around here? Then the next person says, oh, head straight and make a right. Anesh, how do I make a right? Like making a cake? Make? And they go, no, make also means turn. And they go, oh, then they ask, imagine asking 30 other people, where would I find Robarts Library? How many more people will say, use the word head, make, hang? Probably a lot. And like to your point, that's improving their listening.
Right.
But the difference is in the beginning, they didn't know what head, hang, and make meant, but their language coach is next to them to guide them through that conversation, which is the benefit of the language coach being out with the learner. So Carla can be the best teacher in the world and say, okay, now I want you guys to go outside and just practice doing this. Yeah, no, that's like throwing them into the deep end without teaching them how to swim. That's the benefit of having a language coach next to you to guide you and support you. You know, and even dealing with rejection, Carla. Some of our, where would I find Robarts Library? Ah, get away from me, you stupid. Manish, he didn't like me. I said, you know what? We can't control other people. We can only control how we react
Right.
to that. But you know what? That's okay. You know what you can do? Oh, you don't know or you can't help me? That's okay. Thanks anyway. Reply with a smile and be grateful to them. Because if you have an attitude of gratitude, everything is bonus and a plus. So part of our program as a coach is teaching that mindset and that resiliency. And so they build that thick skin. Excuse me, where would I find? Get away from me. Oh, that's okay. Thanks anyway. If you go to an interview, you don't get the job. What are you going to do? Go home and cry? No, go to the next interview. So we're building resiliency and grit by making and talking to strangers every single day. So they're developing these, not these language skills, but life skills.
And that's important, especially in this day and age.
Absolutely.
Now, with the lockdowns, how have you been continuing your work? Because you couldn't do, you can't go out. They don't want you out.
It was a struggle. I'll be honest with you, because I go, well, the city is our classroom, but the borders are closed and the students can't come to Toronto anymore. So what am I going to do? I was fortunate. My partner said, well, you've been doing this for 12 years and all of your students live back in their country. Why don't you reach out to them and maybe they can do 1 hour a week of language coaching? I said, but the city is not their classroom. What are they going to do? And I don't like sitting and doing things online. I was a tennis coach. I want to be outside. And I said, well, you know what? How can I start embedding good daily English routines into their lifestyle? Because everything is about routine. So when you wake up, what do? Well, I do my affirmations. I'm strong enough, I'm beautiful enough, and I'm going to have a great day. Good. So we started building affirmations with students and starting them to do that every morning. At the beginning and end of the day, Carla, do you ever talk about what you're grateful for?
Personally, yes.
Absolutely. As do I. It's part of my daily routine. So students start doing that. Then they're talking about what was the best part of your day? What was the most challenging part of your day? What can you do better for tomorrow? So they should be doing all of these things, even in their own language, right? But now they're doing it in English. How powerful is that?
It's amazing.
So through the pandemic, we've been building a mindset of powerful learners, but really building this, I call it a mental health resiliency language learning toolkit.
How amazing. I am totally impressed.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It means a lot.
That is such a wonderful program.
And one of my dreams and goals, Carla, is to scale what I do. Why should students only be able to do this in Toronto? Why can't they? What city are you in?
I'm in Washington, D.C.
Right. Why can't Carla be doing this program in Washington or Vancouver or Seattle or New York or Boston, Chicago,
Let's
Sydney?
talk about it. Seriously.
That's one of my dreams. So being able to franchise or license this program to have it all over the world, but not just for English. What if Carla wanted to learn Hindi effectively, but taking this language immersion methodology that I've developed? I could guarantee I could have you speaking Hindi in 6 months.
I'll take the challenge.
Guaranteed. If you follow our methodology guided by a native Hindi speaker who could guide you through that process in that culture, in that language, guaranteed if you were in Mumbai or you're in New Delhi, wherever I could guarantee you'd be learning Hindi.
Let's we'll talk
All
offline, but
right.
this
Okay.
is really amazing.
Thank you.
And I'm definitely interested. And one of my students is writing, I would love to interview Anesh. It can be worked out. Allie, take a chill pill.
That's amazing.
But this is wonderful because what you are offering is something everyone can gain from.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
it's amazing. I have a 14-year-old who's interested in your program right now.
There you go. Absolutely.
But he has impeccable English.
Mhm.
I mean, he's from
Sure.
Pakistan, but it's hard for me to remember he was not born speaking English.
Yeah. When you come to another country, even if it's as long as it's before a certain age, and you can go to elementary or high school in another country, you will become a natural, confident, fluent speaker, and that's great.
He did not do that. He has not left Pakistan yet.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah, he's someone
Brilliant.
I am very happy to introduce you to because I think the conversation would be absolutely amazing
Mm. And as
between you and him.
I would appreciate that. That would be amazing. And he could subscribe to my On the Spot Language channel, and he could see actually not me, Carla, but you can see my students using the language. And that's more powerful than anything. Don't look at another foreigner speaking, speaking, speaking. The person who should motivate you are people you could put yourself in their shoes, right? So,
Absolutely. Now, having said that, we have been talking for a while. Do
yeah.
you have any words that you would like to leave our audience with?
I would say that we're in this constant state of evolution and really moving towards self-actualization and human oneness. And my biggest message is wherever you are, never stop being curious, never stop learning. And knowledge is power, but it's only to the extent of you sharing it and using it. And so if you learn something, share it and make the world your classroom.
And that's what I agree. I think that's where we have lost in education.
Hmm.
Education is teaching human values. It's teaching the kids, not only kids, but adults, learning that there may be diverse cultures, but in actuality, the reality is we are all alike. We breathe the same air. So why make this so difficult? And in knowing that, it takes us another step using technology and talking to people around the world. This,
Absolutely.
what you're doing is brilliant.
And then I appreciate you sharing that. Um, and I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to speak with yourself and get connected with you through our mutual friend, Paul Duke, who's one of my biggest supporters. And thank you so much for this opportunity. And a quick little shout out, and I'll make this quick. If people really want to know more about this methodology and my story, I'm not a seasoned author, but I've actually been able to write a chapter in this book called A New Paradigm of Education, which comes out on Friday.
Wonderful. But more importantly, I want you
Mhm.
joining my team, and maybe I can join your team and we can grow this completely. Um, I'm
Well, let's get on a
extremely
conversation with
excited.
Rehan and see where this goes.
We don't need to talk to Rayhan about
Oh,
this.
okay.
I can make,
Okay. Okay.
I'm, yeah.
That's it. All
We
right.
will
You're the
talk
minister. I
offline,
forgot.
but we don't, I make decisions when it comes to the ministry. And
Impressive.
having said that, I really want to thank you for speaking with me tonight and really bringing out a really wonderful, wonderful program that really excites me. And I want to remind everyone this show is sponsored by the Institute of Peace, which is an online organization promoting peace one conversation at a time. And can we wave goodbye? Bye, everyone.